today's video, we're making the cutest little mosaic peg dolls. Think Christmas spirit and Yuletide joy. From traditional colors to eclectic design. We'll go over how to tile, grout, and finish off. Let's get to it. Welcome back, and if you're new here, my name is Julie. And on this channel, we talk about tips, tricks, tools, adhesives, materials, and specific mosaic projects, all to shorten your learning curve when it comes to creating mosaic art. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, please consider subscribing. Peg doll is a modern day umbrella term for small solid wood tabletop shapes. Each doll is turned or created from one piece of solid wood. They come in all sorts of shapes, like people, animals, and nature. And you'll often see them painted. Peg dolls are super popular right now, and you may have seen some families have each family member painted as a peg doll, perhaps even their pets. I've seen beloved superheroes, Star Wars, I've seen Harry Potter characters, beautiful nativity scenes, woodland creatures, and even Mr. and Mrs. Claus. I'm sure there are so many more options out there. They're so stinking cute. So when I spotted Christmas tree peg dolls, you know what I was thinking. These would be so much fun to mosaic. I mean, come on, look how adorable. You don't even have to do anything to them and they scream cuteness. The kind of cuteness that fits in the palm of your hand. They're perfect on a windowsill, your desk, nightstand, coffee table, shelf, pretty much anywhere. They're a small piece of decor that'll make any space feel more festive for the holidays. And when I say small, I'm talking 2 1/4 inches tall by 1 3/8 inches wide. And because they're made of solid wood, you know what that means. They're a suitable substrate for mosaic. And as mosaicists, we must decorate these in our own way. We've got a lot to cover, so let's get started. The trees I purchased came in a package of 10 identical pieces. The surface of the trees is very smooth, so I don't have to sand them down. But before we start, we do need to prep the surface to ensure better adhesion during tiling. I did a video here on the channel about how to prep wood surfaces for mosaic, and I'll include a link down below so you can check it out. But because they're so little, they don't take very much time to prep. I always like to seal items on wax paper because they don't stick and they peel off so easily. So once I'm done sealing them, I'll let them sit and dry for at least a few hours before I start tiling. So while the trees sit and dry, I started thinking about color combos, design ideas, and picking up materials. When thinking about the design, I didn't get too elaborate. Remember, these things are really small. I knew there were certain colors I wanted to work with, as well as shapes of tesserae, but I kept the design simple. Reason being, again, these trees are small and they have curves. And I knew that I wanted to use thin tesserae such as stained glass and vitreous because I didn't want the pieces to add bulk to the trees. So now I'll quickly take you through each of the trees and then we'll move on to grouting and finishing off. I'll include a list of all the materials, tools, and substrates used in today's video down below in the description in case you'd like to make some Christmas tree peg dolls of your own. My first tree is an all-white tree. I used white stained glass cut into squares and rectangles and placed a few random circles around. To get started, I placed a strip of stained glass up against the tree to get an idea of what size pieces I should cut. And then I got to cutting. I've done a video here on the channel about how to cut stained glass, and I'll include a link down below in the description so you can check it out. I needed to make sure the pieces were small enough not only in width, but also in length, since it is such a small area to tile on. I used Weld Bond for the adhesive because of how quickly it dries and how firm of a hold it has to the substrate. Plus, it dries clear. I glued on the circles first and let them dry for a few minutes before I started tiling the rest of the tree. I started tiling the squares and rectangles on the second tier of the tree and left the top for last. I really wasn't sure which tier was best to start with. The part of the tree that you see which isn't tiled, meaning the areas which are exposed wood, not including the trunk, will be grout once everything is done. So you can see the grout will play a big part of these trees. Like I said earlier, I don't want to add excessive bulk to the trees. So by tiling those areas, it would bulk it up. That's why I chose to tile a smaller area of each tier. I'll paint the bottom, or the trunk, once it's grouted. The second tree involved a color combination and tesserae shape that's been on my mind. I won't say it's been bugging me, but I will say I've spent way too much brain power thinking about it. You know, sometimes you get a design idea or a color combo or specific tesserae stuck in your mind, and the only thing that will rid you of it is if you just take action and make it, use it, do it. Yeah, that's me. So this tree will involve stained glass in lime green, bright orange, pink, and purple. Remember, I said eclectic design. I wanted to cut the glass into triangles, so I started by cutting the glass into strips first using a glass cutter and running pliers. And then I cut the strips into triangles using wheeled glass nippers. Once all of the glass was cut, I got started with tiling. I started at the bottom tier of the tree this time and worked my way up to the top. I finished off the very top of the tree by cutting a small circle of orange stained glass. The third tree is pretty traditional. I wanted to use multiple shades of green stained glass cut into rectangles. But first, I wanted to add some silver brads to the substrate. I used a total of 9. Brads can be found in the scrapbooking section of your local craft store. They're made of metal and come in all sorts of colors and sizes. I marked where I wanted them to go, spacing them out enough, making sure I had at least one on every tier. To get a hole started in the substrate, I carefully used an awl. I didn't have to go too deep since I want the brads to be at a slightly higher level than the stained glass. Then I applied a little weld bond over each hole and added the brads. I started tiling the tesserae on the top tier of the tree and worked my way down. The tiling was quick, and I love how it looks with the silver brads. For the fourth tree, I wanted to make it a snow-covered tree that you might find out in nature. So I cut slivers of white and multiple shades of green stained glass and got to tiling. I started at the top tier of the tree and covered it all in white, as if there was a major snowstorm that had just passed. Then, as I moved down the tree, I included a mix of green and white glass. I didn't follow a pattern or anything. I just sporadically placed the green and white glass, as if a few branches didn't get touched by the snow. The fifth and final tree is covered in vitreous glass in an ombre design. I've done a video here on the channel about how to cut vitreous glass, and I'll include a link down below in the description so you can check it out. I'm using 3/4 inch vitreous on this tree. So I picked out 4 shades of green which have an obvious difference in shade. Next, I cut the squares of glass in half and then again twice to create 3 rectangles out of each half. I hope that makes sense. This tree will have the lightest shade of green at the top, and then the shades will turn darker with each tier as I reach the bottom. To start tiling, I cut a small circle of vitreous for the very top of the tree, then I got to work tiling the top tier. I did keystone the top tier pieces in order to fit more tesserae, but I didn't do that for any rectangles on the tree. So I continued on to the second tier, tiling and making my way to the bottom. Once I was done tiling, I let the tree sit and fully dry for at least 24 hours before moving on to the grouting. I've checked over my pieces to make sure everything is stuck down, not moving, and that they're ready for grout. Not all of these trees will have the same color grout. I decided on white for a couple of them and green for a couple of them. I've done a video here on the channel about how to mix grout for mosaic, and I'll include a link down below in the description so you can check it out. I've mixed up my white grout and my green grout, and I'm ready to get started. As you can imagine, it's not going to take very long to grout these trees. I'll start with the white grout, carefully filling in all of the grout lines and making sure that I also get the areas under any glass pieces that might be hanging over a tier. I'm taking my time with these trees since they're so little and the pieces are even smaller. And they're somewhat vulnerable if you know what I mean. I don't want to risk knocking off one because I was going too fast. Okay, these look good, so I'm gonna move on to the green grout. I'll continue grouting the same way I grouted the trees with the white grout. I'm carefully making sure I fill in the grout lines and also under any glass pieces which might be hanging over the edge. Again, go slow, and if you have to, push the grout into the grout line instead of rubbing the grout in. That's okay. Just take your time. Now that I'm done grouting, I'll let them sit for about 5 minutes and then I'll come back and clean them off. Okay, they're looking dry and ready to be cleaned off. I like to use dry paper towels to clean off the grout. These are the Selecta size, but I'm going to cut them down again so that I'm not working with a bulky paper towel on these little pieces. I'll carefully rub the trees in a clockwise, counterclockwise motion, removing any extra grout. Since the pieces are so small, you want to be extra careful during this point in the process. Sometimes pieces might be buried, and you just need to take an extra moment to uncover them. Once all of the trees are cleaned off, you can move on to the next step, which is finishing off. To finish off these trees, there's just 3 quick steps, but they take time because we've got to wait for things to dry. Again, I'm working on wax paper because it's so forgiving when doing things like what we're going to be doing in these next few steps. To get started, I cut small pieces of painter's tape and attached them between the body of the Christmas tree and the trunk. Since it's a very small area, I'm attaching some painter's tape to the tree so I don't risk painting under the bottom tier with brown paint. I need to paint the bottoms or trunks of the trees. Not that they're a set, but I decided I would paint all of the trunks the same color, which is dark brown. A tree with a brown trunk is obviously what you're going to find in nature, but also it's a great neutral since I didn't use brown in any of them. After the paint dries, the next step is to sign my name on the bottom. I always sign my artwork with a permanent oil-based marker. This pen comes in medium, fine, and extra fine point. I'm using the extra fine. And they come in metallic and non-metallic colors. I let that dry for a few hours before moving on. And the final step is to paint a quality sealer over all of the trunk, including the bottoms. This is the varnish I prefer to use. It comes in matte, satin, gloss, and high gloss. I'll include a list of all the materials, tools, and substrates used in today's video down below in the description. These are a fun, quick mosaic project. You could create a forest of trees for yourself or make many to give as gifts. I think they're adorable and they pack a lot of holiday cheer into such a little tree. Question of the day, let me know down in the comments if you've ever made a mosaic peg doll or if you're considering making a mosaic peg doll, whether it's a tree, person, or animal. I'd love to hear. Thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up as it really does help my channel, and subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bell notification so you never miss a single upload, and let me know in the comments if there's something you'd like me to cover in a future video. I'll see you soon. Bye. All right. I feel like you could just hear my stomach rumble. Let's do that again. For I don't know what. Oh, I was doing so good. I was doing so good there. God, I was doing so good. Just means I'm gonna get it next take, right? Yeah. You wanna see my Christmas cheer on my work table? I'll show you. Oh man, I was doing so good there. What is going on? Ay. Holy cow, I can't believe I finally got through that. Whew. Boy, that was painful. Because, girl, focus. Testing, 1, 2, 1, 2. We're at the end here. Let's get serious, focus, and then cut out for the weekend, okay? All right. Bye. If you're looking for more mosaic inspiration, you can check out one of these two videos. Until then, see ya. Okay, that's it. We're done.